Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the wall of monitors in the International Deep Space Monitoring Station, her dark eyes reflecting the constellation of data points that had kept her awake for the past 72 hours. Something was wrong with the numbers, and wrong in a way that made her stomach twist into knots. "Director Morrison needs to see this," she muttered, gathering her tablets and documentation. The Australian Outback facility had been her home for the past decade, searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. Now that she'd found them, she almost wished she hadn't. The facility's director was already in his office despite the early hour, silver hair disheveled as he pored over his own reports. "Dr. Chen, you look like you haven't slept. The Kuiper Belt objects we've been tracking," she said, spreading her data across his desk. "They're not natural formations. Look at the gravity signatures." Morrison leaned forward, frowning at the readings. "That's impossible. These patterns are perfectly symmetrical," Sarah finished, "and they're accelerating. Slowly, methodically, but definitely accelerating toward us." The next 48 hours became a blur of secure communications and emergency meetings. Representatives from every major space agency gathered virtually as Sarah presented her findings. The objects, now designated as Anomaly Group Alpha, were clearly artificial and massive in scale. When the first transmission arrived, it came on all frequencies simultaneously. The message was simple, broadcast in every known human language. "Greetings, children of Earth. We are the Collective, and we come in peace." General Diana Rodriguez of the United Nations Space Defense Council wasn't buying it. "They're broadcasting in our languages, which means they've been watching us." "For how long?" She addressed this to the emergency session of world leaders. "Long enough to learn everything about us," Sarah replied, now serving as chief scientific advisor. "The question is, why reveal themselves now?" The collected ships emerged from behind their gravitational cloaking fields 2 weeks later. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. Massive crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them, each one larger than the largest human cities. Their ambassador, a being who called itself Nexus, appeared via hologram in the UN General Assembly. Its form was deliberately non-threatening, almost human-like, with smooth, silvery skin and gentle, phosphorescent eyes. "We have watched your species grow," Nexus announced, its voice resonating with warmth. "You stand at a crucial junction in your development. The Collective wishes to guide you, to help you avoid the mistakes that have destroyed other young civilizations." Sarah sat in the back of the assembly hall, watching the world's leaders lean forward in their seats, entranced by Nexus's words. But something caught her attention, a slight discrepancy in the hologram's projection matrix. She began running calculations on her tablet, tuning out the grand promises of technological gifts and cultural exchange. Later that night, in a secure bunker beneath Geneva, Sarah presented her findings to a select group of military and scientific leaders. The hologram was designed to emit specific frequencies that stimulate the brain's trust centers, she explained. "They're not just communicating, they're manipulating." General Rodriguez nodded grimly. "We've detected similar patterns in all their broadcasts. Subtle psychological warfare. The question is, what are they really after?" The answer came from Dr. James Patel, head of Xenobiology Studies. "Earth itself. Our planet has something unique in this sector of space, a stable biosphere with an unusually diverse genetic library. To an advanced species, we're sitting on a gold mine of biological data. And they think we're too primitive to realize their true intentions," Rodriguez concluded. "That plays to our advantage. We need to maintain the deception that we're buying their act while we prepare." The next 3 months saw the largest covert military mobilization in human history. While the world's media focused on the Collective's public displays of goodwill and technological gifts, underground facilities around the globe began manufacturing weapons based on the principles they could glean from the aliens' own technology. Sarah worked with a team of quantum physicists to crack the code of the Collective's communication systems. "They're overconfident," she reported. "Their encryption is advanced, but they're not bothering to change it. They don't think we're capable of understanding it. The Collected's true nature began to show in subtle ways. Their technological gifts all contained backdoors and hidden protocols. Their cultural exchange programs were thinly veiled intelligence-gathering operations. But humanity played along, presenting the image of an awestruck, grateful species while preparing for the inevitable betrayal. Sarah was reviewing the latest data when the first alarm sounded. The Collected's ships were powering up their weapon systems, preparing to shed their peaceful facade. But humanity had been ready for weeks. As the alien vessels charged their main guns, Sarah sent the signal that would change everything. Across the globe, hidden quantum interference generators spun up, ready to turn the Collective's own technology against them. The real war was about to begin, and Earth's children were no longer interested in playing nice. The Collective's attack began at dawn. Their massive ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, energy weapons charged and targeting systems locked on major population centers. Nexus's final transmission dripped with contempt. "You disappoint us, children. Now witness the price of defiance." But in her command center beneath Mount Cheyenne, Dr. Sarah Chen allowed herself a small smile. "You first," she whispered, typing in the final command sequence. When the Collected fired their first salvo, they expected to see cities vaporize. Instead, their energy beams twisted and distorted, scattering harmlessly into the upper atmosphere. Across the globe, quantum interference fields, disguised as ordinary power plants and communication arrays, rewrote the laws of physics on a local scale. Status report, General Rodriguez barked, standing beside Sarah at the master control station. "Quantum fields holding at 98% efficiency," Sarah replied, watching the data streams. "Their weapons are useless as long as we maintain the grid." The Collective's second wave of attacks proved equally ineffective. Their ships, massive crystalline fortresses that had conquered a dozen worlds, found themselves unable to harm their supposedly primitive prey. Dr. Patel's voice crackled over the comm system from his lab in Singapore. "They're adapting their weapon frequencies, just as we predicted. Uploading countermeasures now." The real genius of humanity's defense lay in its distributed nature. Each quantum field generator operated independently, learning and adjusting to new threats. The more the Collective attacked, the more data Earth's defense grid collected. "Multiple ships descending," Rodriguez announced. "They're switching to ground forces." Sarah nodded. "Right on schedule. Colonel Wei, you're up." Across Asia, Europe, and the Americas, hidden bunkers opened to reveal humanity's new arsenal. Tanks equipped with reverse-engineered alien tech rolled out alongside mechs that looked like they'd stepped out of science fiction. But these weren't copies of Collective technology. They were human innovations, designed to exploit weaknesses the aliens didn't even know they had. Colonel Lisa Wei's voice was steady as she led the counterattack in Eastern Asia. "Remember your training. They think in straight lines. We don't. Hit them from angles they don't expect." The Collected's ground forces were impressive, towering war machines and plasma-wielding troops in advanced armor. But they fought with textbook precision, unable to adapt to humanity's unconventional tactics. Earth's defenders struck from sewers and subway tunnels, used civilian infrastructure in ways the aliens never anticipated, and employed weapons that seemed primitive but carried devastating surprises. In orbit, the real game-changer revealed itself. The Collected sensors detected thousands of small objects rising from Earth's surface. They dismissed them as debris or countermeasures until it was too late. "Quantum swarm deployed," Sarah reported, initiating Phase 2. The debris was actually a cloud of quantum-entangled nanomachines, each one individually harmless, but collectively capable of rewriting the local laws of physics. As they surrounded the Collected ships, they began creating microscopically thin zones where their advanced technology simply couldn't function. Nexus's next transmission contained something new: uncertainty. "What have you done? This technology should be beyond you." "You made 3 mistakes," Sarah replied, broadcasting on all frequencies. First, you assumed we couldn't understand your technology. Second, you thought we'd never suspect your true intentions. But your biggest mistake: you gave us time to prepare. The Collective's rigid military doctrine proved to be their undoing. Their ships, designed to fight conventional battles against known enemies, found themselves trapped in a web of quantum anomalies that rendered their most powerful weapons useless. Their ground forces, programmed for efficient conquest, couldn't adapt to enemies that refused to follow the rules of engagement. But humanity's greatest advantage wasn't technological, it was psychological. While the Collective's commanders struggled to understand how their perfect plan had gone wrong, Earth's defenders were already moving to the next phase of their strategy. All units, Rodriguez commanded, commence Operation Stormbreaker. Show them why you don't underestimate humanity. As Sarah watched the battle unfold on her monitors, she thought about the Collective's fundamental misunderstanding. They saw Earth as a primitive world ripe for conquest, its inhabitants barely worth considering as sentient beings. They never wondered why humans, alone among the species they'd encountered, told stories about fighting impossible odds and winning. The quantum fields flickered with increasing intensity as the Collective tried desperately to regain control of the battle. But with each passing moment, humanity's position grew stronger. The aliens were about to learn that humans didn't just use technology. They innovated, adapted, and overcame. And they were very, very good at surviving. Operation Stormbreaker began with silence. Across the globe, Earth's military forces went dark. Communication channels fell silent. Defense installations powered down. To the Collective sensors, it appeared as if humanity's resistance had suddenly collapsed. Admiral Marcus Torres stood on the bridge of the U.S. Prometheus, Earth's first quantum-powered warship, hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean. "All vessels, execute on my mark." His voice was barely a whisper, though down in the quantum core, Dr. Sarah Chen could feel the tension building. The Collective took the bait. Their ground forces advanced confidently into seemingly abandoned cities. Their ships descended lower in the atmosphere, preparing for final occupation protocols. Even their ever-cautious commanders couldn't detect the trap until it was too late. Now, Torres commanded. The oceans of Earth erupted. From the depths rose humanity's hidden fleet, vessels that had been constructed in secret underwater facilities, while the Collective focused on ground-based threats. Unlike traditional warships, these craft were designed around a single principle: unpredictability. Sarah's quantum drives engaged, pushing the Prometheus through space in ways that defied conventional physics. The ship didn't just move through 3 dimensions. It partially phased between quantum states, becoming impossible to target effectively. "Multiple targets acquired," reported Lieutenant Maya Patel, weapons officer and daughter of Dr. James Patel. "They still haven't adjusted their shields for multidimensional attacks." The Prometheus fired its main weapon, not a conventional energy beam or projectile, but a concentrated burst of quantum disruption that caused the laws of physics to briefly break down within its target area. The nearest Collective ship, a massive dreadnought, found portions of its hull suddenly existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. The result was catastrophic. Across the globe, humanity's hidden fleet executed similar attacks. Each vessel employed different tactics, different weapons, different approaches. The Collective's commanders, trained to expect uniformity and coordination, found themselves facing an enemy that refused to follow any predictable pattern. "They're attempting to regroup," General Rodriguez reported from her command center, switching to their secondary combat protocols. Sarah had expected this. The Collective's response to uncertainty was to fall back on tried-and-true strategies, to seek patterns they could understand and counter. But humanity had spent months preparing for exactly this response. "Launch the Chaos modules," she ordered. From every human vessel, swarms of small, autonomous drones deployed. Each was equipped with a miniaturized version of the quantum interference technology, but with a crucial difference: they were programmed to act randomly, to create unpredictable distortions in spacetime. that even their creators couldn't fully anticipate. The result was beautiful chaos. The collective's formations, perfect in their geometric precision, began to break apart as local space itself became unreliable. Their energy weapons fired at targets only to have the beams emerge somewhere entirely different. Their ship's automated systems, unable to cope with spaces where physics itself was becoming probabilistic rather than deterministic, began to fail. But the true masterstroke of Operation Stormbreaker wasn't the technology, it was the psychology. Every human commander had been given the same unusual order: think creatively. There was no central strategy, no master plan to counter. Each unit fought its own way, adapted to its own circumstances, created its own opportunities. "They're transmitting again," Rodriguez announced. "Full spectrum broadcast." Nexus's image appeared on their screens, but the beam's usual composure had cracked. "This is impossible. Your species cannot have developed such capabilities independently. You must be receiving outside assistance." Admiral Torres allowed himself a grim smile. "You still don't understand. We didn't develop these capabilities because we had to match yours. We developed them because we imagined them. Every piece of technology we're using against you began as someone's dream, someone's story, someone's what if." The battle continued to escalate, but the momentum had shifted decisively. The collective's mighty armada, designed to impose order on the galaxy, found itself being torn apart by forces that thrived on disorder. Their attempts to adapt came too late and too rigidly, each new strategy countered by 1,000 different human responses. As Sarah watched from the Prometheus's quantum core, she realized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't the technology they'd developed or the strategies they'd planned. It was their fundamental nature, their ability to look at the impossible and say, "Why not?" The collective was about to learn that conquering Earth wasn't just difficult, it was a contradiction in terms, because humanity didn't just adapt to survive. They adapted to win. The moon's dark side held humanity's greatest secret. While the collective reeled from Operation Stormbreaker's success, Admiral Torres received the signal he'd been waiting for. All Earth forces begin tactical withdrawal. Draw them toward lunar orbit. Dr. Sarah Chen looked up from her quantum calculations aboard the Prometheus. "They'll think we're retreating to a defensive position around the moon." "Let them think that," Torres replied. "They still haven't learned to look deeper." The collective's remaining ships, nearly 2/3 of their original invasion force, pursued Earth's apparently retreating fleet. Their commanders, burning with wounded pride, saw an opportunity to finally corner and destroy the troublesome humans in a decisive battle. They never thought to question why humanity's forces were moving with such precision, such coordination, when chaos and unpredictability had been their hallmarks until now. "Enemy fleet approaching optimal position," Lieutenant Maya Patel reported. "Lunar Base Omega confirms ready status." The dark side of the moon began to move. What appeared to be crater walls split apart, revealing massive hangar bays. From the depths of humanity's secret lunar shipyards rose vessels that dwarfed anything previously seen in the conflict. These weren't the quick, agile ships that had harried the collective in Earth's atmosphere. These were behemoths, constructed in secret over the past 5 years. "Begin emergence sequence," ordered General Elena Santos, commander of the Hidden Fleet. "Show them what humanity can build when properly motivated." The first vessel to rise from the lunar surface was the HS Hyperion. 12 kilometers of advanced technology and human ambition. Its hull incorporated crystalline structures reverse-engineered from salvaged collective technology, but redesigned according to human principles of adaptability and redundancy. Behind it came others. The Prometheus's sister ships, each one different, each one an experiment in pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The collective's sensors struggled to process what they were seeing. Warships that shouldn't exist, technology that shouldn't be possible, a force that turned everything they thought they knew about humanity upside down. "They're attempting to retreat," Maya announced, satisfaction evident in her voice. "Their formation is breaking up. But retreat wasn't an option. The hidden fleet had emerged in a perfect crescent formation, using the moon's gravity well to create a barrier that trapped the collective ships between two forces. Sarah's voice was steady as she reported from the quantum core, all ships showing green on the synchronized quantum field generators, ready to execute final phase. Admiral Torres opened a channel to all human vessels. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting to show the galaxy that humanity will not be underestimated again. Execute Protocol Omega. The hidden fleet's true purpose wasn't just combat. Each ship was also a node in the largest quantum field generator ever constructed. As the synchronized fields activated, space itself began to change within the engagement zone. The collected ships found themselves in a region where their fundamental assumptions about physics no longer applied. Their advanced AI systems, unable to cope with constantly shifting physical laws, began to fail. Their weapons, designed to work within normal spacetime, became worse than useless. They're sending another transmission, Rodriguez reported from Earth Command. Audio only this time. The voice that came through wasn't Nexus' smooth, condescending tones. Instead, it was sharp with fear. How? How did you hide this from us? We had monitors on every frequency, observers in every sector. Sarah took the liberty of responding. You watched our television broadcasts, monitored our internet, observed our military bases. But did you ever wonder why humans spend so much time telling stories about things that don't exist? About possibilities? About dreams? The hidden fleet closed its formation, tightening the noose. Each ship moved with precision, born of countless simulations and drills conducted in secret beneath the lunar surface. You saw our science fiction and dismissed it as primitive entertainment. Sarah continued. You never realized you were watching humanity's research and development program in action. Every impossible ship, every piece of incredible technology, every seemingly fantastic weapon. We imagined them first, then we built them. The battle that followed would be studied by military historians for centuries to come. The collective's mighty armada, already battered by Earth's defenses, found itself caught between hammer and anvil. But more than the military victory, this was the moment humanity announced itself to the galaxy as something new, a species that turned imagination into reality. As the last collective ship surrendered, Admiral Torres turned to Sarah. Send the final message, the one we prepared for whoever they answer to. Sarah nodded, transmitting on all frequencies. To the collective empire, you thought Earth was an easy target. Instead, you've awakened something you don't understand. We are humanity. We don't just adapt, we innovate. We don't just survive, we revolutionize, and we're coming to change everything. The hidden fleet hung in lunar orbit, a testament to humanity's ability to dream big and then make those dreams reality. The galaxy was about to discover that Earth wasn't just another world to be conquered. It was the beginning of something entirely new. The collective's surrender didn't mark the end of the conflict. It marked the beginning of understanding. 3 days after the Battle of Luna, Dr. Sarah Chen found herself in an unexpected position, face to face with Nexus in a quantum-secured conference room beneath Geneva. The being's physical form was different from its holographic projection, smaller, more artificial, yet somehow more real. You knew, Nexus said, its multifaceted eyes studying her. From the first transmission, you knew our intentions, yet you let us believe our deception was working. Why? Because that's what humans do, Sarah replied. We learn, we adapt, we prepare. But most importantly, we understand the power of letting others underestimate us. The room's quantum field generators hummed softly as Admiral Torres and General Rodriguez entered, followed by representatives from Earth's Unified Defense Council. Each carried data tablets containing humanity's terms, not just for peace, but for the future. Your civilization has encountered many species, Rodriguez began, but I suspect none quite like us. You saw our divisions, our conflicts, our apparent technological limitations, and assumed we were primitive. You never asked why we fight among ourselves, yet unite instantly against external threats. Nexus shifted, its crystalline structure reflecting the room's light. Your species is impossible to categorize. Your technology shouldn't work. Your tactics defy strategic logic. Your very approach to existence contradicts established patterns. That's because you're trying to understand us through the lens of your own experience, Dr. James Patil interjected, entering with his latest xenobiology findings. You see technology as a linear progression, civilization as a march toward perfect order. We see them as tools, as means to ends that we haven't even imagined yet. Sarah pulled up the quantum field calculations that had helped turn the tide of war. Look at how we adapted your technology. You use quantum fields to enforce stability. We use them to create controlled chaos. You seek to perfect what exists. We imagine what could be. The data flowing across the screens told a story beyond the recent conflict. It showed humanity's true nature, not just their ability to fight and win, but their capacity to transform defeat into victory, limitations into advantages, dreams into reality. We've accessed your records, Torres added. We know the collective isn't the true power in this sector of space. You answer to something older, something that's been watching us through you. Tell them this: humanity is not a threat to galactic peace. We're a catalyst for galactic change. Nexus was silent for a long moment, processing. When it spoke again, its tone had shifted from condescension to something approaching awe. You know what will happen now. Other powers will come. Some seeking alliance, others seeking conquest. You've announced your presence in a way that cannot be ignored. We're counting on it, Sarah smiled. Because here's what none of you seem to understand about humanity. We don't want to just survive in this galaxy. We want to revolutionize it. Every ship we built, every weapon we created, every tactic we developed, they're not just for defense. They're the first steps towards something new. The quantum displays shifted, showing the next phase of human expansion. Ships designed to explore rather than fight. Technologies meant to bridge the gaps between civilizations. Innovations that could reshape the very nature of space travel. Your attack forced us to accelerate our plans, Rodriguez explained. But these designs, these dreams, they existed long before you arrived. In our stories, in our art, in our endless questioning of what's possible. As the meeting concluded, Nexus made one final observation. You could destroy us. Your hidden fleet alone has the power to devastate our core worlds, yet you offer cooperation instead. Why? Sarah's answer was simple. Because that's the other thing you need to understand about humanity. We're not just good at winning wars. We're better at winning peace. Our greatest strength isn't our ability to fight. It's our ability to imagine and create something better than fighting. The terms were signed, not just with the collective, but with the greater galactic community they represented. Earth would not be conquered, but neither would it conquer. Instead, humanity would do what it had always done best: innovate, adapt, and transform. As Sarah looked out over the Geneva landscape that evening, watching ships from the hidden fleet perform honor passes overhead, she thought about the true nature of humanity. They weren't the strongest, the most advanced, or the most unified species in the galaxy. But they were perhaps the most imaginative, the most adaptable, and, when pushed, the most revolutionary. The stars above were no longer just lights in the sky. They were humanity's future, and that future would be unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Because that's what humans do. They change everything.